Your Social Media, a podcast where we discuss all things pertaining to social media. This podcast is intended for people who are interested in social media, whether you are a current user or not. Today we will pick up where we left off last week with part 2 of our discussion on Facebook. I'd like to welcome back Katie Bartman and Mark Becker. So let's get started. I know Facebook was something different when you both were in your 20s. What advice would you today give a 20-year-old that is either currently on Facebook or considering going on Facebook? Katie?
I would say don't use it as a repository for all of the photos you have. Employers now look at Facebook and look for content on there, and for people in their 20s who are out having fun and just enjoying life and recreationally, there are things that they might not want a potential future employer to see, and I think that's important to recognize. That's a little bit more public, I think, now than it was before, but that would be my piece of advice.
Okay. Mark?
I mean, that's hard for me because I don't know what Facebook is these days. I would say that what Katie said is good. Just know that if you're posting something that it's public, it's almost like one of those, how you act when nobody is watching is like your character, or how you act when you think nobody's watching is your character. So when you're posting to Facebook, like that's your character, that somebody's gonna judge you based on that, and it's just a lot of pressure. And so it's hard to give that advice to a 20-year-old because then you feel like you're gonna raise their anxiety using something, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's the same thing with food, like everything in moderation.
Oh, okay. Well, that brings me to a question, and not for you, Mark, because you're not a current user, but to Katie. Is there any feature in Facebook today that you know about and maybe use that you would recommend that a 20-year-old or a college student would consider, that you would consider recommending they use?
Not being a 20-year-old using it anymore, it's kind of hard for me to answer. I'm not really sure what draws a 20-year-old to Facebook now. I know that it's less popular with that demographic than it is with older people now. As a 30-year-old and a mom of young kids, there are features that I find very beneficial, and which is why I am even still a member. I rely on it a lot for some sort of like mom groups where I can say, what are the best sippy cups that don't leak? And I get a great, response on options. So I value it a ton for that. But as far as 20-year-olds, it's hard for me to think of something that would be beneficial for them on Facebook.
Okay, well, I guess I would say that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that because you use it for like a group, like you said, a mom group, then could you not see a 20-year-old that, I don't know, belongs to a group of people that played a guitar, and then they can go out and find a guitar group and maybe do the same thing you're doing, but at a 20-year-old level. But that's something that you would promote or recommend if they're going to be on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also provides a really great opportunity to connect with people that you don't know otherwise. There's, again, like I'm in a lot of mom groups, and there are ones that are local. So I have, local to my area, that I'm able to connect with neighbors that live in my neighborhood, and that's really cool. And I will say that from a perspective of using it as true social media where you're socializing with people, there really isn't an alternative that so many people subscribe to. So you could subscribe to Nextdoor, for example, and that connects you to your neighbors, but the subscription rate or the number of users is so insignificant compared to Facebook that we really need a competitor to step up and make something happen that doesn't have the sort of detrimental aspects. But yeah, no, you're absolutely correct that I value the group aspect of Facebook a ton, and I'm sure there are ones that could pertain to young people and even potentially for networking, for job opportunities. There could be groups that sort of bring together people who are alumni from certain universities, or maybe that are connected in certain professional areas. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Well, this wraps up the final installment of our discussion on Facebook. I'd like to thank both Mark and Katie for their contributions to our two-part series. Please join us again as guests as we explore other subjects dealing with social media. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I'm your host, Rodney Becker, and I hope you continue to be part of our audience on your social media. Have a great day.